Oh hi. Winnipeg, the city in Canada, the main town of the province of Manitoba, at confluence of the Assiniboine River with the River Red River. Commercial and transport center of the Canadian Midwest. The name of the city comes from the name of the lake of the same name located on 65 km, 40 miles. To the north of the city, and which in language of Indians of Accra is called Winnipeg, that can be translated as dirty water. Long before arrival white, the territory located on crossing of waterways played an important role in trade and wars between Indian tribes. White reached the district of 2 days. Winnipeg, the French under command of the officer from New France Pierre de Varon were the first. In 1738 they based the strengthened trade post of Fort Rouge here. After annexation of New France by the British Empire, the area passed under control of British and became the property of the Company of Hudson Bay. In 1812 there arrived a group of the Scottish settlers who founded the first real white settlement here, colony of the Red River. Rivalry of the Company of Hudson Bay and the Northwest Company in June 1816 developed into fight at Seven Oaks, after which the Government of Canada interposed in the matter. In 1869-1870 Winnipeg became the center of the revolt on Red River under Louis Riel's leadership. Though the revolt was also suppressed, it was an incitement to inclusion of Manitoba in the structure of the Canadian Confederation. The 5th province. In 1873 Winnipeg was officially given the status of the city. Thanks to good location and also continuous inflow of people, in 1872 there were 1860 inhabitants here. In 1885 through Winnipeg the Canadian Pacific Railway line was laid, and on June 28, 1886 to the city the first structure came from Montreal. Emergence of the railroad gave a new impetus to development of the city. In May 1919 in the city, the largest Winnipeg general strike in the history of Canada, force suppressed by the authorities, took place. In 1920 Winnipeg was the 4th in number of inhabitants the city of Canada after Montreal, Toronto and Vancouver. From the beginning of the Great Depression the city entered the decline strip proceeding. With a break for World War II when military orders inhaled life in his plants. Up to the end of the 1980th. On February 19, 1942 in the city of Winnipeg there took place the action of If Day, which imitated invasion of troops of Nazi Germany and occupation of this territory by them. If Day included production battle between the Canadian troops and volunteers dressed in a uniform of the German soldiers, internment by Nazis of the famous city politicians, establishment in the city of Nazi regime, and a military parade. The action was devoted to fundraising for war. In 1972 the decision on association of 13 cities and settlements to the uniform city was made, what led to the fact that at the moment Big Winnipeg occupies the space in 465 km. Totals more than 663,617 inhabitants. As of 2011. And is the 6th largest DDD the city of Canada. The city is located in 100 km, 60 miles, to the north from border between Canada and the USA, almost halfway between the Atlantic and Quiet Oceans at the height of 238 meters above sea level. Winnipeg lies on eastern frontier of the Canadian prairies, in the valley of the River Red River, which was once a bottom of the post-glacial Lake Agassiz. The area is subject to floods. So, the strongest flood happened in 1950. The climate is sharply continental, with severe winter and in rather warm summer. Average annual air temperature is plus 2.4 C, average monthly January 18.3 C, April of plus 3.8 C, July of plus 19.8 C, October of plus 5.7 C. The average annual amount of precipitation of 505 m, the most part drops out of them in the summer. According to a census of 2011 in Winnipeg, 663,617 people lived in agglomeration minus 730,018. In Winnipeg there is a large Ukrainian diaspora, 15.4% of citizens, the Ukrainian origin, at the same time 3.1% speak at home in Ukrainian. The crime rate in the city is quite high. In 2010, Winnipeg took the third place in Canada on number of violent crimes per capita. Economy. Winnipeg is the largest center of cultivation of grain crops on the North American continent, the financial, commercial and production center of the Canadian Midwest. Among the enterprises of the city there is the main factory of Royal Canadian Mint, which mints almost all Canadian coins. Other factory in Ottawa releases only coins in collection execution, and also coins for several tens foreign countries. Thanks to the status of the capital of the province of Manitoba, the largest employer of the city is the state, represented by authorities of various levels and also educational and medical institutions belonging to them. There is a number of parks. Assiniboine Park with a zoo, Kildonan Park with a collection of beautiful trees. The city is served by the International Airport of James Richardson, with an annual passenger turnover of 4.4 million people. 2018. Regular flights are performed to all main cities of Canada and also to Chicago, Denver, Minneapolis, Las Vegas, Orlando, Tampa and Phoenix. Flights to the resorts of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea are seasonally performed. Winnipeg is the important railway junction, through and there are trains connecting east and western coasts of Canada. The city is also the largest intersection of highways in Canada to the west of the Great Lakes, in Trans-Canadsko Highway, Yellowheadsko Highway and Highway Manitoba Highway 75 are crossed. Public transport is presented by 94 bus routes under control of the Winnipeg Transit Organization. In 1912, under the auspices of Bureau of Development and the Industry of the Province of Manitoba, the Winnipeg Museum of Fine Arts, at which to 1950 the art school worked, was founded. In 1963 the museum was officially registered by Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as the Art Gallery of Winnipeg, which was under authority of Association of Art Galleries of Manitoba. In September 1971 the museum moved to the new specially built building built on the project Gustavo da Rosa. In 2018 at the museum, construction of the building of the Center of the Art of Inuits designed by Michael Maltzan began. In 1971 the old building of Gallery on Vaughan Street was reconstructed for placement of Archives of Manitoba in them. English, Russian, where in 1974 the archive of the Company of Hudson Bay was moved from London. Sites: Monument to Heroes of World War I of work of the Icelandic sculptor Einar Jónsson. Monument to Winnie the Pooh, received a name in honor of the she-bear Winnipeg who got to the London Zoo from Canada. Monuments to wolves on money of sponsors, including monument to Amarek. Sport: ice hockey. At a turn of the 19-20 centuries in the city there was an amateur team, Winnipeg Victorias, which won 3 Stanley Cups: 1896, 1901, 1902, and 2 Cups of Allen, 1911, 1912. In 1972-1996 in the city there was a Winnipeg Jets club acting in Dubai. 1972-1979. And Nonal. 1979-1996. Jets won 3 trophies of AVCO. 1976, 1978, 1979. From 1996 to 2011 in the city there was a Manitoba Mus Club. In 1996-2001 it acted in Ale, from 2001 to 2011 in all. In 1955-2006 there was Winnipeg Arena where Jets. All the history. And Mus acted. Till 2004. In 2004 the Mint Center Stadium which became the new Mus Arena was open. In May 2011 it was declared that the club of Nonal, Atlanta, is sold by the Thrashers to new owners and since a season 2011-12 will play in Winnipeg. Mus moves to Street. Johns, thereby having released Minster Center for the new Nonal team which also received the name Winnipeg of Jets. In the Canadian Football League the local team, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, existing since 1930, the tenfold owner of the Cup of Grey Acts. 1935, 1939, 1941, 1958, 1959, 1961, 1962, 1984, 1988, 1990. In 1935-1952 the home arena, Blue Bombers, was Osborne Stadium. In 1953-2013, Canadian Stadium. It is demolished at the beginning of 2013. And since 2013, the new arena Investors Group Field. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.